The locker room door swung shut so violently it nearly rattled off its hinges. Inside, voices were clashing, tension was sizzling like an exposed wire, and in that charged space, the Indiana Fever's entire season was about to pivot in ways nobody saw coming. Caitlin Clark had finally reached her breaking point, and Stephanie White was about to feel the heat from months of questionable decisions, all condensed into one electric showdown. Look, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White clearly like and respect one another, right? But that doesn't mean they always see eye to eye. And I am beginning to suspect more and more that there's a bit of a divide between the way that they see the game and the way that they think the Indiana Fever should play. What happened inside that locker room didn't just stay there. It rippled out, sending seismic tremors through the entire basketball world and leaving every fan to wonder if the WNBA's brightest star was on the edge of packing her bags and waving goodbye to Indiana for good. But make no mistake, this eruption wasn't sparked by one sloppy game or a random substitution blunder. This was the culmination of months, entire months, of simmering frustration, of jaw-dropping misuse of transcendent talent, of a generational superstar left feeling like her own coach might be orchestrating her demise rather than her ascent. Clark's glare alone could have scorched the paint off the walls. Here's the player who single-handedly vaulted this franchise from league afterthought to headline attraction, only to be ghosted by a scheme so allergic to harnessing her gifts it bordered on basketball malpractice. Picture this. The Fever ran commercials plastering Clark's face everywhere, selling tickets with her highlight reels. And then, when the moment was brightest, they decided to hide her on the bench like an unopened toy. Fans aren't just grumbling in private group chats anymore. They're practically screaming into the void. Scroll through social media during these games, and you'll spot comments that read like furious Yelp reviews. I paid top dollar for Clark brilliance, not whatever this clown act is. And, if this is what the Fever's selling, refund my emotional investment. Once your franchise jewel feels shoved aside, it's no longer some mild tactical oops. It's a slap in the face to every person who bought in, who wore the jersey, who made the pilgrimage to see this basketball prodigy light up arenas. Word on the street is CC told Stephanie White is sick. Kelsey, Mitchell, and Howard because they don't pass. Could be true. CC went to tie her shoe after passing to Howard on a play, LOL. And it is clear that there is a philosophical rift in the team. And this is where you come in. If you're watching all this unfold, seething right along with thousands of other fed-up fans, hit that like button so hard it trembles and drop a "Free Caitlin" in the comments right now. Let's blast a signal straight through the Indiana front office's thick walls so they can't keep pretending they don't hear us. Because at this point, it's beyond venting. It's about protecting the future of the game's biggest sensation. I'm all for the veteran players, but at the end of the day, did we all forget that this is Caitlin's team? Like, did y'all just throw that whole situation out the window? Number 1 draft pick, rookie of the year, breaking all the damn records like they're, scratch-offs? Bruh, what is we doing here, dawg? I mean, Stevie Wonder could see that they tripping, man. At this point in time, I mean, I want to see the Caitlin we seen at Iowa. What happened to the Iowa CC? The greatness. I mean, bruh, we haven't seen the logo 3 in a month. Bruh, now to truly grasp how we reached this meltdown moment, we have to rewind the tape a few months. It all started with a comment so outrageous it practically deserved its own laugh track. Stephanie White, talking hoops last season, dropped a soundbite that went viral for all the wrong reasons. The Mavericks just played differently without Luka on the floor, she said, like she was unveiling some deep basketball wisdom. The ball's moving, it's popping, multiple guys stepping up. Think about that. This was essentially saying, the team is better off without the league's top scorer and the guy who dragged them to an NBA Finals. That's like a bakery bragging it sells more donuts after firing its star baker. It was laugh-out-loud bizarre. Fans roasted it across socials. Analysts shook their heads. But White didn't flinch. Instead, she doubled down, proudly hoisting this philosophy as if it were a championship trophy. No single player should ever be bigger than the system. Fast forward, and suddenly that weird philosophy makes a twisted kind of sense in Indiana. Swap out Luka for Caitlin Clark, swap out Dallas for the Fever, and voila. Same recipe, same misguided approach. The superstar, the franchise cornerstone, the literal ticket-selling phenomenon. And this wasn't some stray comment or harmless slip. This was her gospel. Once you understand that, every confusing lineup shuffle, every mind-numbing bench stretch, every stagnant offensive slog starts to connect like puzzle pieces. White's core belief is crystal. If a player dominates touches too much, they are the problem. Her utopia is a merry-go-round offense. The ball zipping around, everyone getting a taste, zero dependency on a singular star. Sounds poetic in theory. In practice, it's like watching a grocery cart with one busted wheel careen aimlessly, players bumping each other, nobody quite sure who's steering. Here's the issue though. Caitlin Clark isn't just some ordinary ball handler, she's a once-in-a-generation floor general, built to orchestrate, to fire up engines, to elevate everyone around her. Take away her keys, and the whole car stalls out on the freeway. But White keeps singing the same song, arguing that feeding Clark too much leads to stale predictability and solo hero ball. Meanwhile, reality laughs. When Clark's on the bench, the Fever offense turns into a haunted house. Aimless cuts, baffled teammates, wide eyes as defenses pounce on their confusion. Clark isn't just high usage, she's the oxygen in this team's lungs. Suffocate that, and surprise. This isn't Stephanie White's first dance with disaster. Long before she planted herself on an Indiana Fever sideline, armed with glossy playbooks and carefully rehearsed pressers, she was orchestrating an eerily similar experiment at Vanderbilt alongside her mentor Carolyn Peck. On paper, they seemed an unbeatable duo, Peck with a championship on her resume, White eager to elevate the Commodores back into SEC contention. But reality was merciless. The scoreboard blared truths they couldn't diagram away. 7 wins, then another season capped by 7 measly victories. Fans drifted off, players transferred out. The campus atmosphere soured, buzzing more with disillusionment than excitement. Fast forward to the present day, and White has swapped Tennessee's echoey gymnasiums for WNBA hardwood under blinding national lights. Except her blueprint remains stuck in that same outdated gospel of ball movement over stars, of collective choreography where star players are reduced to interchangeable silhouettes. The only difference now? The entire basketball world is watching. Front-page columnists, primetime cameras, global sponsors, all waiting to see the Indiana Fever blossom around their golden goose. Instead, they're getting déjà vu. A roster brimming with promise is floundering, weighed down by systems designed to democratize brilliance rather than weaponize it. But what truly happens when the centerpiece of your franchise, the player you draped across billboards and broadcast graphics, tries to rise from the rubble? The numbers offer a brutal snapshot of Clark's ordeal. Her usage rate has nosedived to nearly 20% from her scintillating rookie campaign. Her scoring average has dipped. Her once league-leading assists are stuck in neutral. And her court vision, the thing that lit up sold-out crowds last season, now seems blurred by clogged lanes and confused rotations. Watch her closely. Every time Clark touches the ball, you see her second-guessing. Teammates miss cuts. Screens show up late or not at all. Defenders crowd her immediately, daring her to do something heroic while the rest of the Fever stand frozen. This isn't the confident maestro who pulled defenders 28 feet from the hoop last year, forcing help rotations that left shooters wide open. This is a superstar being forced into awkward solos on a dimly lit stage. The fireworks she once provided have fizzled into the hum of awkward silence. Let's be clear. Clark hasn't changed. Her range still stretches to the parking lot. Her vision still slices defenses. Her competitive motor still hums at championship RPMs. The only variable that's shifted is her opportunity. Under White, each Clark initiative runs smack into an algorithm. Shifts, substitutions, rotations, treating her improvisation like a system error. The result? A generational guard stripped of rhythm, forced into isolation, battling tooth and nail for every highlight. Box scores keep spelling it out. Subpar shooting nights. Team-wide collapses. Coaches tossing around adjustment period excuses like confetti. Meanwhile, fans howl foul. Analysts frown behind their studio desks. And still the core issue hides behind cliches about ball sharing and unpredictability. But old ghosts linger. This is not Stephanie White's maiden voyage into self-inflicted sabotage. Why are fans only now seeing the full picture? Because the mistakes have stacked too high to ignore. Social media has basically turned into a digital insurrection. Under every Fever highlight post, Free Caitlin lights up like Times Square. One exasperated fan commented, "Release our star or release our money back." Another pledged to boycott the entire season. Even casual fans who couldn't explain a horn set from a stagger screen sense something's off. They see empty seats, hear deflated cheers, feel their ticket dollars swirling the drain of wasted potential. It isn't just the loud fans. Sponsors have started sending those oh-so-polite but very direct emails. National TV broadcasters are getting skittish, sidestepping direct questions to avoid embarrassing segments. Reporters stock press lines drilling Fever execs with, "When will you let Clark actually run the offense?" Meanwhile, insiders whisper that some at the league office worry Indiana's dysfunction could cost them the one star capable of propelling the entire sport into its next golden era. This isn't a pocket of complainers, this is a grassroots rebellion. People didn't pour passion and dollars into Clark's historic rise just to see it muzzled by half-court traffic jams. And when betrayal hits enough hearts, people mobilize, clipping awkward highlights, tagging the team, flooding comment threads with fury. That echo is deafening. What's Indiana's brass to do? Evidence mounts by the day against White's rigid playbook. Just look at the fiasco when Clark returned from her recent groin injury. After 5 games on the bench, she re-entered to find an entirely new starting lineup. White shuffled rotations like a gambler chasing a hot hand, but forgot the objective is to win, not to experiment. Predictably, Clark was out of sync, the team out of sorts, fans outraged all over again. The Fever lost 80-61 to the expansion Golden State Valkyries, with Clark stuck on 10 points from 4 of 12 shooting. This isn't a generational talent being unleashed. This is a thoroughbred stuck pulling a broken cart. Then comes the cruel irony. The Fever actually won the Commissioner's Cup game without Clark. Natasha Howard delivered 16 points, 12 rebounds, spearheading a 74-59 statement over the defending Lynx. White and her defenders crowed about how it proved the system works. But they've missed the entire point. Nobody is buying tickets to see a team that shines brightest without its superstar. This is a tragedy masquerading as a triumph. Yet even through this muck, Clark's brilliance can't be completely buried. She's still putting up over 17 points and 8 assists per game. She's still orchestrating highlight reels that loop across SportsCenter and TikTok. But these moments feel more like accidental leaks of greatness rather than the norm. Imagine the joy-starved fans. They're watching Clark crack through White's scheme like a weed through concrete, and cheering weeds because they can't get the full garden. White only deepens the farce by talking up Clark's off-ball movement. Recently, she explained how setting screens and darting around could help Clark find open looks. As if Caitlin Clark is just another perimeter sniper waiting on someone else to create the magic. This is like telling Beethoven to stand aside so the orchestra can play itself. Clark is the system. She dictates tempo, warps defenses, engineers looks not just for herself but for every teammate. Then there's White's league fine after torching refs for letting defenders hack Clark all night. At first glance it looked like a coach defending her star, but scratch the surface. White demands refs shield Clark from body blows but won't shield Clark's talent from her own system. She fights for Clark's foul calls, but won't fight to give her the ball. That irony is thick enough to spread on toast. This goes deeper than just Clark. White treats everyone like cogs in a synchronized machine. She values equal touches over elite creation. But basketball is human. It thrives on outliers, on transcendent stars who tilt games by sheer force. The best coaches know this. They build structures to amplify genius, not dilute it. They understand that your best plays start with your best players. Look at the modern WNBA. The aces elevate Asia Wilson's every strength. The Liberty pivot entire game plans around Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu's 2-woman brilliance. Seattle thrived for years by putting the ball in Sue Bird's and Jewel Lloyd's hands when it mattered. These teams didn't shrink their superstars to fit an egalitarian ideal. They used the stars to drag everyone else to a higher plane. Indiana had that chance when they drafted Clark. They could have sculpted an offense around her supernatural passing lanes, her logo range bombs, her competitive fury. Instead, they shoved her brilliance into a box labeled team concepts. They've spent 2 seasons trying to prove balance matters more than dominance, sacrificing wins, and possibly alienating the biggest draw in modern basketball to defend a philosophy that keeps failing, and time's running out. Clark won't twiddle her thumbs forever. She's already hinted at discomfort, fielded awkward press questions about her usage, watched as chatter builds over whether Indiana is the best long-term home. If the Fever don't pivot soon, those whispers will become roars. The roadmap is simple. Hand her the ball. Trust her IQ. Craft sets where she dictates pace and hunts mismatches. Let her make teammates better through her gravitational pull. This isn't abandoning team basketball. It's embracing how true team basketball often flourishes through one transcendent centerpiece. Here's the bottom line. Titles are won around star power. Jordan with the Bulls, Magic with the Lakers, and ideally, Clark with the Fever. If White can step aside and realize unpredictability isn't a virtue if it derails your meal ticket. Sometimes the best coaching is knowing when to get out of the way. So if you're as fed up watching Clark wrestle through this mess as the rest of us, let's flood the comments with "Free Caitlin." Let Indiana's front office hear that we're not paying to watch reruns of forced motion. We're here for live brilliance.